Dan, I'm from Hope Technology, and today I'm going to show you how to shorten your brake hose, either on a Tech 3 lever or a race lever. It is the same process. What you're going to need is you're going to want a set of Allen keys, some hose cutters, a T10 Torx, a flat bladed screwdriver, an 8mm spanner, some dot fluid, and then some any kind of like isopropyl cleaner, just to wipe away any excess of the dot fluid, and a rag. You're also then going to want some new fittings, so you need the shroud, an insert, an olive, and then a copper washer. Whilst doing anything with dot fluid, working on brakes, it's good practice to wear gloves. It's not the nicest stuff to have on your skin. So yeah, make sure you've got some gloves and you've got some cleaner as well. First things first is you're going to wind out the bike point adjuster and then the reach adjust on your brake. That basically is getting the brake at the kind of most open position, if you like. What you can do is you can remove, if the front wheel's in, remove the front wheel and leave the axle out. With the pads in, making sure the pads are in, you're just going to want to just pump the brake out. You'll feel it bite as well. If you've got a brand new brake and you take it out of the box, it is really good practice just to pump the brake, just to make sure it is feeling fine. So you can pull the brake and it bites. Obviously, if your pads are in, you're not going to cause any damage, you just need to push them back. So once you've just pushed the pads out and they've just touched against each other, you're going to want to remove the shroud just with an 8mm. It shouldn't be too tight, you should be able to just wind it off with your hand like that. Copper washer can fall off, so just put that to one side. Now that the hose is disconnected from the lever, make sure not to pull the lever. That will fire fluid out the system, and then you will need to rebleed the full system. If you are using the same shroud again, just pull it down like that. If you put a new one on, that's fine. You want to measure where you're going to want to cut your hose. Grab your hose cutters and then just cut it like that. Try and keep the hose facing up like that. You don't want it dangling down because the fluid's going to leak out. For the purpose of the video, I'll put a new shroud on. Shroud goes on first, then your olive, like that. Then your insert as well, and you should be able to just push that in with your finger. If you do need to tap it in, use something soft, you don't want to damage that up there, but just make sure that it's pushed all the way on like that. Then, most important, don't forget the little copper washer before you reconnect the brake, so just push it on, insert in, put the insert like that, and then just thread the shroud on like that. Nip it up like that, like so. Now, just in case there is a little bit of air in there, once you've put your olive and your insert in, you can introduce just a little bit of air into the system. You're going to just want to remove that air. Obviously the brake isn't going to feel as good. So first I just angle the lever up a bit like that. Using your T10 Torx, you're going to want to just loosen the top two bolts like that. They shouldn't be overly tight. Remove them, put them to one side because you're going to reuse those. Undo that one as well. Now, before you actually take the lid off, you're going to want to get the lever flat. So the best way to do that is to angle the bars like that, and then just lift the bike a bit, like that. And then if you need to hold the bars, you can just grab a zip tie or a strap or anything like that to hold it. So the lever's flat there. So obviously if you take the lid off, it's not going to spill. So your lid should just pop off. If it doesn't, you can just gently do that. And it'll pull off, and your diaphragm will come with it as well. You want to remove that off the top cap. If you need to wipe it with a bit of a rag because it'll be quite slippy, that's fine. If the top cap comes off with the diaphragm, you're just going to want to pull that off like that, pretty easy. Just whilst you've got it off, you can double check just to make sure that there's no holes or anything in the diaphragm. Put that to one side. Now with the lever open, what you're going to want to do is, using the flat blade screwdriver, just very carefully just push the pads back like that, and that should just push that little bit of air that could have been in there just into the lever like that. So you don't need to push directly onto a piston, just ever so slightly, just push the pads. Double check, there'll probably be a few bubbles in there. If you want, you can then just flick the lever, and that will encourage any air that's in the system just to push back out. And then if there's no air coming up, the top cap's ready to go back on. So just before you do put the top cap on, just make sure the pistons are pushed all the way back. Just do that. If you then do need to put a bit of fluid in the top cap, just top it up with your rag just underneath, because this will obviously pour out. If you get your diaphragm, just place it in like that, and then just kind of let it roll on to the brake like that. And there will be a little bit of spillage, there's no way around it really. Obviously you want to make sure you're getting the most amount of fluid in the system as you can. So just roll it on like that. Make sure it's not spilt all over the shifter. Place the top cap on like that. And then reinsert the T10 screws like that. They don't need to be tight, like super tight. You don't want to over taut them. So just nip them up like that. If there is then any excess fluid, just with your spray, just wipe that off. Once you're happy with the lever, it's got a good feel to it, you can reinsert your wheel, making sure that the brake is set up and it's central, work the pistons a bit, and then it's ready to go.